Day one on the block, I did 36 hours straight wearing a nail bag, and so far in over my head, it wasn't funny.
I love the one when people say, oh, you must be so lucky that you've got that beautiful house. There's sacrifices that you make in order to become successful.
There becomes a point when the business becomes bigger than just you.
Yeah.
And that's when you realise it's so important to have the right...
Welcome back to the Built for More podcast by Premier & Co. Today we have Matt from Elevate Building, 2 times winner of the block and award-winning master builder. So if you're a builder or a service-based business, you definitely don't want to miss this one. Matt, welcome to the pod.
Thanks, gentlemen. Pleasure to be here.
Matt, mate, you've got an incredible story, and I definitely want to kick it off there from, where you started your trade all the way through to building the business. Mate, kick us off. Where did it all start?
How far back do we go? So, right back to probably the back end of school. Went to Marsden College, private boys' school. Always sort of had an interest, did woodwork, design, technology. It was a good school where they had a range of sort of offerings and opportunities to sort of pursue different avenues. So I was exposed to the carpentry and woodwork aspect of it, exposed to the folio and design subjects and all that sort of thing. So working through VCE, I sort of had in my head, I was actually looking at going down the design route and ended up spent 6 months at Swinburne Uni coming out of school doing industrial design with sort of the thought process that I'd get into architecture or building design. Always had an interest in sort of structure and aesthetics and all that sort of thing, and sort of thought, okay, well, wouldn't mind getting into property is what I had in my head. And then realistically looking at sort of how do I get there, and design and sort of and architecture or drafting was what I thought was the avenue for me. So as I said, I spent 6 months at uni and didn't really stick, didn't really click. I probably could have pursued it and probably could have finished the course, but I just felt like there was something missing. So at the end of the first 6 months, the mid-semester break, I was sort of just working part-time, filling holes in between the uni schedule. So I had a few different part-time jobs. It was, just pretty much anything to earn $1. I worked at a video shop back in the day, Video Easy before.
Video Easy.
Over, yeah. So that's a blast from the past. I was working for a pharmacy. I was a courier delivering by the book, but delivering medication.
Pharmaceutical dealer.
Exactly. I've got to be careful how we put it. Yeah, pharmaceutical dealer.
It was taxed. The government had their hand in it.
I was just driving the car. No, but so I was doing that for a bit. I was even a call centre. So it was pretty much a bit of anything. Bartending as well. Worked at a wedding receptions place doing wedding functions and things like that. So always worked from a young age, started working back at Video Easy at 14. So had the work ethic. Obviously, everyone wants to sort of get a bit of cash behind them and sort of see their bank balance ticking over. So that was sort of ingrained in me from an early age, and I didn't shy away from sort of hard work. So mid-semester break, I was sort of just fluffing around and working part-time, but obviously on the holidays, I had an opportunity to work for a builder. It was a friend of a friend, and it was just pretty much a labouring gig. And I sort of, the first week, I just fell in love with it. It was, I'd always worked from a young age, as I said, but this was the first physical job out in the elements that I had that I sort of felt fulfillment at the end of the day, because you could see the fruits of the labour throughout the day. And I was always sort of active and sporty, so that didn't really deter me, and it sat quite well with me. So through the holidays, I just stuck at it. And then my mind started ticking over. I'm like, I was sort of dreading going back to uni. And I'm like, I'm going back to this course. I'm like, why am I doing this course? I've always been pretty calculated and reverse engineering it. And I'm like, I'm going back to this course to put me on the path to get to here. And I'm like, well, I still firmly believe that's where I want to be in 3, 4, 5, 6 years' time. Is this course the only route I can take to get there? Is there an alternate route? And then I started thinking, the guys I was working with were really, really good, a couple of carpenters and the boss was a builder, and I was picking their brain, and obviously they had a biased opinion, but they go, mate, carpentry, best trade. I'm like, why? And they go, well, you're there from start to finish. You're seeing the full build. Obviously they had a biased opinion because that was their career path. But I sort of, from what I could see, I tend to agree with him.
Mate, I agree too.
I think we
There's
all
three
got sold.
carpenters here at the moment. So
We all got sold that dream, and hopefully, I think we ended up all right anyway.
Because it's sort of, you're doing a bit of everything, right? And you're sort of exposed to the full build process. You dip your toes in other trades. You've got to be across what other trades need.
That's right.
In terms of, because you're before and after them, you got to make provisions for the other trades. So you're sort of getting a taste of everything, and it's just exposure and knowledge. Like, you're not just pigeonholing yourself into one aspect of construction. So young, naive, I just sort of believed him, and sort of from what I could see, that's what it was. And going hand in hand with sort of my time at Marston, I had a fair bit of exposure to woodwork and
Nice.
carpentry as well. I mean, I was no better than the next kid or the next kid in the class, but I enjoyed it. Like, we were making like bookshelves and just bits and pieces like that. But I didn't mind playing around with hand tools and things like that. So I'm like, okay, I might sack industrial design at uni, and I might dip my toes in a pre-apprenticeship and go down the route of carpentry and sort of try and get into property or construction in that capacity, go on the hands-on route, which is what I did. So pretty much I was still at home at the time, and I said to Mum, I said, I think I'm going to bail from uni. And she just sort of looked at me blankly. It was sort of,
As they do.
well, looking back, like, I was sort of the black sheep of the family because no one was trade-based in the family, even our extended family or all of that. No one was sort of a tradesman or even in construction, to be honest. So it's sort of, I guess from her perspective, it came from left field. But as I said, I sort of had my mind set on where I thought I wanted to be in sort of 5 to 6 years' time. So it wasn't strange, and it wasn't really all that concerning or daunting for me, because I knew that was a viable avenue to go
You
down
had
to
a
get
plan,
to where,
right?
yeah. Whether or not it was the right one, or whether or not it was going to pay off, I didn't know. But at the time, it made sense, and at the time, I had a fair bit of interest, and I suppose there was sort of like this underlying pull to have a crack and dip my toes in. So that's what I did, and then did the pre-apprenticeship, which is just a short course, just sort of prepping you for as sort of like a condensed version of the first 12 months of your apprenticeship, and then just started applying for jobs. And you don't do it anymore, but I opened up a local paper. So I don't even know if Seek was a thing back then. This would have been 2009. So I opened up the local paper and found a local builder.
In the back, I remember that.
Yeah.
Right at the
Job
back
listings.
of the
Yeah.
We're showing our age here, boys. We're not even
paper. Mate,
that
that was
old.
my Instagram and Facebook when I had
It
the
was,
building
wasn't
company.
it?
It was in the local paper.
Yeah, that's right. So it's I still somewhat remember the ad, because I was sort of looking through and I'm like, nah. And then I saw this one, and it was a local builder, the 2 suburbs over. So I'm like, beautiful. And it was as I said, he was a carpenter, but he was a registered builder, specialised in insurance work, renovations, extensions. And I sort of thought, like, again, even that was early days, but I was sort of I've always been pretty calculated and sort of trying to map out, okay, what makes sense and what's going to sort of not pigeonhole me and give me the best exposure to sort of what the industry has to offer. So I sort of had a look at this ad, and it was, as I said, insurance, renovations, extensions. It wasn't just a framing carpenter. It wasn't just a new builder doing custom homes from scratch, straight out of the ground. It was renovations and insurance work. What I sort of had in mind was, you're pulling things apart, you're piecing it back together, you stop starting, marrying in with existing. So it sort of takes a bit of effort and takes a bit of thought. So applied for the job, got it, and basically spent my whole apprenticeship working with him. Gave me great opportunity. I sort of dived in, and I've got a bit of a, I guess, addictive personality. So it was like, yeah, as soon as I started, it was 6 months later, I had a ute and started tool after tool after tool, stacking it up. Then ran out of space in the ute, so got a tool trailer, loaded that up, and outgrew the tool trailer, got a bigger tool trailer. And here my boss was looking at me, and he's just got, you're right. Like
Guys switched
you're
off.
halfway through your apprenticeship and you're towing a tool trailer. You're not even off your P's yet, and you're loading it up with tools. And he sort of gave me really good opportunity because I think he saw my eagerness and then took that as he was willing to sort of roll the dice and give me opportunity. So it's probably questionable, but he was letting me do a lot on my own. And from the insurance side of things, like we were doing bathroom renos and things like that. And from my second year as an apprentice, I was going to jobs and setting up trades, whether it be plasterers or plumbers and mapping out the roughing and all that sort of thing. So
what
having that exposure from such a young age and so early in my career and in my apprenticeship, I guess it was, I didn't know any different. I just thought that's what it was. And then you've sort of got mates down the footy club and things like that where they're like, yeah, my boss doesn't take his eyes off me. Like all I'm doing is pushing a broom, and here I am meeting trades and showing them how to rough it in and where the mixers are going and all that sort of thing, and doing tile set outs for the bathrooms and working out the niche and all that sort of thing. And it's just like a second year apprentice. It was just like, I firmly believe, looking back now, I had so much experience in such a condensed period of time. And because I was sort of a bit of an addictive personality and an obsession with progression, I just sort of took the opportunity and ran with it. And just soaked it up.
What do you think it was that made you, I guess, want to dive into it so much and, get the trailer set up? And what was it? Was it your boss at the time? Did you feel as though?
No, there was no push from him. It was pretty much just as I said, there was a genuine underlying passion there, not only for the industry, but I've always liked tinkering with things, like even at home before, when we were still at school, like I was always pulling things apart, putting them back together, playing around with bikes and all that sort of stuff. So like doing things with my hands and building things and all that sort of stuff, it was always there. So I think unknowingly, as I said, there was this pull towards dipping my toes into a carpentry apprenticeship. And I think it's not luck. I'm not a leprechaun, but I think it's more like I just struck gold that I sort of identified a bit of a passion from the early stages, and then that was the sort of fuel to dive in and fully commit to it, rather than just sort of, this is just a job. This is just a job, 7 till 3:30, that's it. Whereas I was working my ass off. I was doing overtime. I was doing weekends. Once I got the experience, I was still bartending on weekends and on Friday nights as I was an apprentice. But then once I got to the point where I had a bit of confidence and I was hanging doors and doing skirting and arcs and sort of handrail repairs and all that sort of stuff for my boss as an apprentice, as I sort of got a little bit of confidence midway through my apprenticeship, I started doing that privately for clients, just handyman stuff. But then that gave us, again, that natural progression. It sort of gave me that taste of sort of my own little business.
Dealing with clients, what it's like to communicate back and forth, etc.
Yep.
100%.
And I mean, it wasn't glamorous. As I said, it's fixing door handles and it's doing the shit work that nobody else wants to do or handyman would charge a fortune for. And I was a young pup apprentice.
Earning $250 a week probably back then. I think I was on $260 a week in my first year of my apprenticeship.
I must have been getting looked after. I was in the threes. But it was low threes, low 300s. But that's the thing. It was like, and at the time I was, as I said, you're not earning much. So that's why I was still working as a bartender on a Friday and Saturday night. It was twofold, earn a bit of extra cash and it stops you going out on the piss, spending cash. So I was doing that, and then I got a bit of confidence and I'm like, oh, well, I can just keep being a carpenter on the weekend. So then got rid of the bartending gig and started working privately for clients, and then that just sort of snowballed from there.
You were mentioning, when you were growing up, working at the bookstore and then, being a delivery at the movie store, and then being a delivery driver, and then all of these things that you did, call center, and then going into your apprenticeship and wanting to get set up with the right tools and truck and so on and so on. Well, I think, all of them years that you go through them transitions or you go through them different industries, you actually don't realize it at the time, but it's fully prepared you to where you are today, because it's like inside of the call center, you're doing sales.
The foundations. It's all of those things throughout your journey. You don't actually realize at the time, but then you look back over the last 10 years, you go, oh, I went through that experience because now I deal with this correctly.
Yeah.
I went through that so I can communicate correctly.
It's an exposure. And I think there's some people that go through life and they sort of just cruise and coast, and they don't really absorb the opportunity or the experiences that they're getting exposed to, right? So as you mentioned, like working at Video Easy as a young pup at 14, and I've got a furious dad that comes in and
Scratch.
kids are cracking the shits because
Scratch CD.
and I've got to calm him down because he goes, he's the worst dad in the world because he brought the kid's favourite movie home and it won't play, and he's having a sleepover or something like that. So
have you tried spitting on it and wiping it a little bit? Doing the breath on there.
The Colgate. Remember the Colgate? Everyone said put the Colgate toothpaste on it, and that's how you can buff out the scratch.
There you go. So, and that's the thing. Like, I'm 14 and I'm trying to diffuse the situation. And as you said, people skills, customer service, managing, and trying to think on my feet, because it's like he's giving me a spray in front of everyone in the shop. It's like,
that's right.
Yeah. Or so, bartending, you're dealing with people that are intoxicated, or it's their wedding day, so they're so highly strung. And it's like all these things, completely separate industries, but it teaches you life skills, and it teaches you, you're exposed to these circumstances in this environment. There's takeaways in every 100%. Aspect of every job, really. So, yeah.
For sure.
This episode is brought to you by Premier & Co. We help builders and tradies step off the tools, build solid teams, and scale profitable businesses that don't rely on them 24/7. So if you're looking to grow your business and you're sick of being the bottleneck in your own company, head over to premierandco.com.au and book a strategy session.
So, mate, after all these experiences in different industries, you then finish your apprenticeship at around the age of 22, I believe.
Yeah, it would have been 21, 20, early 22.
Yeah.
So because I did the course, I was with my boss for just under 4 years. So he signed me off a little bit early because I finished the trade schooling. Actually so as I was still an apprentice, I decided, again, me being wired and sort of obsessed with progression and sort of set myself where I wanted to be. I'd already sort of decided that I wanted to be a builder, so carpentry was the avenue to get there. So through my apprenticeship, I'd sort of already started mapping out what I needed to do, how I needed to set myself up to get my builder's license as early as possible. So working back from that goal, minimum financial requirements. So you need to bank a bit of cash. You need to establish a bit of a business history and portfolio. You need a certificate 4. At the time I was doing my Cert 3, which is your carpentry apprenticeship.
Of course.
So with all those things in mind, I'm like, okay, I'm an apprentice. I'm needed doing my Cert 4. It'll be at night school. I've got no responsibilities. I'm playing footy, local footy, but that's about it. I might do my night school now. So I actually started doing my night school, my Cert 4, and finished that before I finished my Cert 3. So then by the time that I finished my apprenticeship, I'd actually already started the company, which it was just a straight ABN swap from a sole trader to the company to try and get that business portfolio and business history as early as possible. I had my Cert 4. So the day that I got signed off, I already had the business set up, I already had the name, I already had the Cert 4, and it was pretty much just go time. And because I had worked out and set up the company straight away, my boss at the time, we were sort of negotiating, okay, I'm going from being on wages as an apprentice to subcontracting to you as a proprietary limited. I'm not just an ABNer with no overheads or anything like that. I've got all the insurance, I've got the work cover and all that sort of stuff. And at the time, there was a bit of button heads in terms of what I needed to or wanted to charge and what he wanted to pay. So that relationship, there was no animosity there, but it just sort of fizzed out. So then I was sort of relying on my weekend work. But then because that relationship fizzed out, I'm like, oh shit, I'm out in the cold here. I'm going to lean on my weekend work, but your weekend work only lasts so long. You're doing it 1 day a week, and then you've got to transition to doing it 5 days a week and keeping that pipeline, which again, that fizzed out. So I started actually just pretty much just doing anything I could, just subbing, floating around, and ended up working for some concreters, just doing a little bit of anything that I could to sort of earn an hourly rate and keep busy.
And being in that renovation space obviously helped you do that. I was the same throughout my apprenticeship, did a lot of old into new renovations, bit of this, bit of that, and which would have helped in the early stages because you were capable of doing.
And it's that exposure. As I said, it's like because I had a broad range of experiences, it wasn't just like when the work dried up, I wasn't just going to turn around and go, nah, I'm just a framer. I'm like, I could literally dip my toes and do anything. Hence why I was sort of subbing the concreters. Hence why I could hang a door. I could have a crack at tiling and all those sort of things. So when it's all good and well to niche and sort of hone in and perfect your skill in one area, but it's like the old thing, a jack of all trades or a master of none, you know what I mean? So it's like, well, which ones? It's being able to diversify your skill set gives you opportunity and gives you options rather than sort of just pigeonholing yourself, because when something dries up and you're left and that's no longer an option, you're like, shit, you got to shift and you got to pivot and you got to be able to adapt pretty quick. Yeah.
And I think that's the benefit, right? Of there's always, I reckon there's three carpenters. There's a framework carpenter who's only just ever done his time in framework. There's a commercial carpenter, and then there's residential cottage building carpenters, right? Lucky enough for myself, I grew up doing cottage builds, renovations, etc. And I think you're 100% right when it comes to diversifying yourself, especially when you start to build a building company, because, you know, what do you want to niche into? Do you really want to be locked into a niche, or do you want to have that, you know, that different skill set when it comes to everyone else?
Yeah.
So tell us about, I guess, when you first got, because you do some beautiful builds and beautiful extensions. When you first got, I guess, your first big build or your first big extension, where was that?
So that's realistically, so there was probably a big gap, right? So down in Victoria, every state's a little bit different, but your ability to sign contracts with clients is without being licensed, is you're pretty well handicapped. So working as a carpenter, you're really restricted with what you can engage contractually with clients, right? So that was the whole thing with where I was at in my experience and age and licensing. From the minute I came out of my apprenticeship, I was heavily relying on subcontracting to other builders and doing carpentry packages for them. So that was the avenue that I took. I knew, okay, I want to become a builder. I'm not there yet. So I need to get a wealth of experience more so than what I've already got and build up the bank account, build up the carpentry team, build up the business. But I can't legally, I can't engage and do these big builds, which is what I want to do, but I can't do that direct for clients just yet because I'm not licensed. So I need to get my runs on the board. I need to earn my stripes. The only way I can do that is to subcontract to registered builders who are doing those builds.
That's right.
And I'm like, what's offering or what service can I provide? So the approach that I took was an all-encompassing carpentry crew. I'd take care of the carpentry scope on behalf of the builder, and I'd deliver the project for that builder from start to finish. So that's what we did from essentially 2014 when we started Elevate right through to probably 2018.
Oh, yeah.
And that put us in really good stead. Again, gave us an even greater wealth of experience and seeing how other builders operate and sort of their setup and their systems and their processes and all that sort of thing. And then gave us the ability to sort of build out a really strong quality team of carpenters as well. So throughout those years from 2014, I sort of grew the team. From 2014, I put on my first 1 and 2 apprentices. They're actually still with us now.
Oh, yeah,
12
that's
years
awesome.
on. So, and then from there, I put on a couple of subcontractors, which meant that we could then split, take care of a couple of jobs per day, and then sort of just mimic that business model and sort of just grew it from there. So over those sort of realistically probably 4 to 5 years, the team grew. It got up to about 16 at one point. We've reduced it now just because we're sort of just trying to tighten the reins and sort of hone in and as I said, sort of tighten things up a little bit more. But those few years was really quite pivotal in sort of learning all the other, like I felt like I was sort of pretty confident as a carpenter, right? Finished my apprenticeship, had a wealth of experience, but then there was this whole other beast of learning the business side of things. And you needed those runs on the board and you needed to establish that track record to then become a registered builder in Victoria. So that was sort of that natural progression there. in and amongst those years, that was the opportunity. Obviously, we got a fair bit of exposure doing the TV shows. So we did the block every second year for 7 or 8 years.
How did that come about, Matt? That opportunity? How did it kind of pop
that
up?
was essentially a cold phone call. So I was 6 months out of my apprenticeship when I had a friend of a friend had actually done it the year previously, and he had a shocking experience.
Reality.
So Matt goes, "Why don't I just jump in?"
Yeah.
I'm like, well, that was your experience.
I'll make it better.
Mine would be great. So, so that was his experience, and he actually got the phone call to go back again the following year.
Mm.
And then at the same time, I sort of bumped into him, and he goes, "Oh, you wouldn't believe it. I got a call from the block, blah, blah, blah." I said, "Oh, yeah, you're going to do it?" He goes, Nah, it was shit house. He goes, I didn't like it. He goes, it was hard work. We were butting heads, blah, blah, blah. He goes, "No, I'd never do it again." I'm like,
Give his number.
Give him my number. And he goes, "You're kidding me." I'm like, "No, fair income." And this was the time, like, I had an apprentice and I had a couple of subbies, but that was it. And he's like, Are you all right? 6 months out of your apprenticeship and you're putting your hand up to go on national TV pretending to be a builder.
What was the train of thought at that point? Was it, this is going to help me build a brand? I know you're very forward thinking since, you started your apprenticeship. You're always 3 steps ahead. You did the time and you did what you needed in order to put yourself in that position. So when that popped up, was it the thought of this will help me build a brand, or was it just like, oh, this is a cool opportunity, I'm going to run the ball up on it?
Building brand probably didn't cross my mind. I just saw it as who knows where it can go. You know what I mean? There's the offer there. They're ringing around, cold calling people, desperate for someone to commit. It's of interest. I'll say yes to anything. I'm a yes man, right? So I'd watched the show previous years, so I knew a bit about what went on, and I just saw it as like, yes, it can go wrong. I wasn't delusional in the fact, and I wasn't starry-eyed. Like, as I said, I'd watched the show, and some trades got cast in a pretty poor light. So there was a bit of risk there, but I just saw it as, if I put my head down, ass up, and have a red hot crack, it could pay off. So it's like, well, why not? You know what I mean? I guess in a roundabout way, I'm a little bit of a gambling man, but I'd back myself in, and that was the whole thing. So like, the call came through. He passed on my number. The call came through, and we got a couple of hours notice. So I was already on a job for another builder, and they called me. It was a random number. I didn't know that it was them on the other end. And he goes, "Oh, I heard you're keen to go on the block." I said, "Oh, this is happening." I'm like, yeah. He goes, "Yeah, sweet. We got a 24-hour challenge. We start at 2 p.m. Whereabouts are you? You're in Melbourne, yeah?" I said, "Yeah." And he goes, "Yeah, sweet. Well, South Yarra Commercial Road starts at 2 o'clock." And I'm like, my apprentice is on a roof. Subbies are on another job. I've got all my gear. It's 11 o'clock in the morning, and I'm on another builder's job, and I've got to be on national TV at 2 o'clock. And I'm just like, okay.
I'll make it work.
I'll make it happen. Sorry, mate, got to run.
So I said, get off the roof, grab the tools, load up the car. I don't know what I need. I don't even know what I had the tool trailer. You're not taking the tool trailer into the city. So I'm like, get all the tools, put in the back of the ute somehow. You can have an early knock off. I'll go in solo. So that's what happened.
What was the communication like with the builder that you were doing the work for at the site?
He was all right with it. Yeah. We had a really good relationship, and he's just like,
where did Matt go?
Wait, what?
Oh, he's gone to TV.
So, like, yeah, Nathan, CNC, he's shout out to him. He was pretty understanding, and he was sort of all for it. Why not, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm probably fortunate to have that support and backing. But I don't think at the time none of us knew what was involved. We just thought it was a day, you know? It was a 24-hour challenge. So we rolled in there, and so I rolled in solo, and before I knew it, I got out of the car, and it was pretty much like it was on, like they were filming.
Your lapel was on, and you're straight into it.
This was the show.
Did you get a chance to go to the barbers beforehand, or you just rolled straight in there?
We were doing a re-roof, so I was covered in like that soot. So I probably looked like a raccoon rolling in. But anyway, so I got out of the car, and I'm just walking up, and they're like, "Oh, are you Kingy's builder?" I'm like, yeah. And they're like, oh yeah, great. And then like all the runners and everyone come over, camera comes around the corner, like microphone boom. One of the runners grabs your shirt, mics you up, sweet, like straight into it. And I'm just like,
what's going on?
I'm like, what have I got myself into? Here I am, a young pup, 22, straight out of my apprenticeship, national TV pretending.
You were
to be a
22
builder.
then?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was, 23. Just ticked over to 23. So this was 2015 it was. And then, so that was day one. So 24-hour challenge. We started at 2 p.m. And then I came in unprepared. All the other teams had a little bit, obviously they called a more experienced builder, and he had a team of trades and everyone come with him, and I rolled in with a nail bag solo.
Did they even ask for qualifications or anything? It was just, you're a builder, you're straight on, all good.
Well, the term builder. So with the block franchise, there's an overarching commercial builder. The license is the project. So you're the builder, which is what I was.
The brand.
But there's no requirement for you to license or warrant the work because it's overlooked by the principal contractor, the principal builder. And that's the thing across Australia. The term builder gets thrown around somewhat loosely in terms of carpenter, builder. It's like blurred lines. So in that respect, for the sake of, let's be honest, it's a TV show, right? So you are the team's builder, just because you are the lead carpenter managing trades and building this apartment. So that was that was the start. So it was a 24-hour challenge and we just got into it. So I'd already started at 7 a.m. on this other builder's job, packed up at 11, got to this job at 2, started, worked through the night, got to about 3 a.m. and I'm like, eyes are hanging out of my head. I'm like, what have I done? Called my brother-in-law who's a carpenter. I'm like, you have to help me. You wouldn't believe the position that I've got myself into. So by 7 a.m. he rolled in, gave us a helping hand. It was pretty much just a bedroom renovation, strip out, refit sort of type stuff. So pretty basic, hard and fast. Just to the idea of that 24-hour challenge was decide what team got what apartment.
How were the rates negotiated? Well, there was no bid.
Pretty much like a typical client tradesman relationship. What's your rate?
Cool.
Yeah, sweet. Bang, done.
Yeah.
And then making sure that obviously what your rate is respective of sort of the effort and the quality work that you're producing, I guess. So I just carried my normal hourly rate through and that was that. Every hour that you're working, you're getting paid for. So that was that 24-hour challenge. So day one on the block, I did 36 hours straight wearing a nail bag and so far in over my head, it wasn't funny. And then they gave us a day off. They did the judging. And then 2 days later, the actual proper TV show started. And that was that. And then although we sort of bombed out in terms of preparedness and judging and all that sort of thing, they go, mate, you didn't go home. You didn't stop. You didn't sleep. They go, like, to see your work ethic and to see your commitment, they go, we know that you're legit. Would you be prepared to put everything else on hold and commit to us for 12 weeks? So the answer was yes, and that was that. And then week in, week out for 12 weeks, we were doing 60, 70, 80. Most amount of hours we did was 115 in 6 days, just like pumping it out. Because it's that is the environment. Not enough time, not enough money to get this apartment renovation done. So like the personal growth through that period was unparalleled, really. Like in what other environment or industry do you get the opportunity to immerse yourself in that? Like it is a TV show, but you're still building. Definitely. You know what I mean?
And the communication on the way through as well, because you probably don't want to make a mistake and everyone is under pressure, everyone's stressed out. So I feel like the communication needs to be on point. Otherwise, jobs don't get delivered and also you potentially make a fool of yourself or they make a fool of themselves on national TV.
And that's the hard thing. It's like it's a blessing and a curse, right? Like 1 million viewers per night. Like you don't get that sort of attention anywhere. You can't pay for that sort of attention, right? So it carries a lot of weight. So you have to do everything in your power to make sure that you're doing what you can. You're putting in every ounce of effort that you can and you're protecting your brand and your reputation. And that was sort of what I realized after sort of the dust settled and after we got into a bit of a groove, it was probably maybe a few weeks into it where I sort of thought, all right, I'm inexperienced. This has potential to fall apart, right? If I stuff up or if it goes wrong, and they could tear me to shreds. But the one thing I control is my work ethic and my quality of work and standards and ethics and morals, right?
Personally, you are.
If I take a strong hold on that and nominate where my baseline is and don't drop my standards and hit that week in, week out, day in, day out, then I'm not giving them any content and I'm not giving them any material for them to portray us in any other.
Well, you're showing up every day the best you possibly can, and that's
exactly
what you did.
Right. Yeah. So although that was the first one that we did. We didn't win. We came third. The contestants still won $450K. But I feel like the reputation that we built off that was unparalleled because everyone's just like, this young kid is fucking mad. Like, he's working his ass off. How good's that? Like, that's what you want to see. You know what I mean? You might not be the best, but if your heart's in it and you're doing everything you can to deliver, that's what people want.
What was one of your biggest takeaways from, I guess, that time on TV and that first time on the block, relating it back to your business after you finished off that first series and you went back into your own company? Well, what do you think was like maybe the biggest push or it forced you to get to that next level, and what was your biggest takeaway?
It's definitely the personal growth in terms of like really pushing the envelope, right? So then off the back of that, getting those sort of glimpses and getting, I wasn't doing it for external affirmation or anything like that, but getting those pats on the back along the way, it is that validation that, okay, I'm working my ass off. It's getting acknowledged. I'm seeing glimpses of the fruits of the labor. That becomes the baseline, and then that becomes your experiences, and then from there it becomes your confidence to keep moving forward. So then when you've got another opportunity that presents, you're like, well, I've been here before. Last time when this happened, head down, ass up, I committed, I took it and ran with it, and then it paid off. And then it just snowballs. And then each opportunity that presents itself, take advantage of that. That opens up new doors. So it's when it all boils down to it, it's pretty simple, really. It's just like, if you say yes and head down and ass up and commit to it, then subsequently opportunities will present themselves, right? It's not only like, it's actually beyond that. It's like, can you stay committed long after the mood that you set it in has left, right? So you say yes at the time and it gets fucking hard throughout the journey, right? But that's when a lot of people fall by the wayside, and then that's what separates the serious people from the not so serious. So they were the lessons in the early stages, and that was really quite pivotal from the very start. Yeah.
You had a really good point there, and it was, when you jump head first into something and you actually make the commitment to yourself, it's running the ball up in order to get the result, the result that you were chasing. Yeah. And that goes for us all, developments that I've gone into that were potentially really scary at that point in time, but you took it on, you jumped, you built the plane on the way down. And what do? They pay off because they force you to become that person. They force you to level up.
Yeah, exactly right.
I think that's the difference between the businesses and people that make it in life, whether you're someone in sports or whether you own a construction business. It's showing up every day regardless of how you feel, dealing with the challenges and offsets and all the above that it comes with running a business. If you just turn up and do your best every single day, that accumulates over time. And that's clearly the difference in how you've succeeded so much, is showing up every single day and doing the work that was required.
It's that compounding effect, right? It's like, it's not only the hours that you put in, but it's standing out from the rest, right? Typical working week's 40 hours. If you're doing 60, you're doing 50% more. You do that over 12 months, you extrapolate that over a longer period of time. Common sense says that you're going to progress faster than the next bloke. You're going to get more experiences. You're going to earn more. Like it's when it all boils down to it, it's actually pretty simple, but it's actually committing to it. It's not just doing, I've done a 60-hour week. Fuck, I've worked hard. I might do 30 this week. It's not that. It's 60, 60, 60. So you can keep pushing and keep progressing, that compounding effect. And then from there, you can look back and you've actually leapfrogged where you should be, where you thought you'd be. And then the confidence that that brings you fuels you for
overnight success, as they say.
That's the thing. It's like, oh, you're lucky. I've said it before. I'm like, not a leprechaun. It's not luck. It's like you create your own luck, you create your opportunities, and they only come by saying yes and diving in.
The harder you work, the luckier you get.
That's right. It's a funny thing that you, for those out there listening at the moment, Matt, you had some really good points. And if we were to, reflect on them right now, it was number one, you actually always had a plan. It might not have been the perfect plan, but you did have a plan, and you always reverse engineered it. You were saying that initially at the start, you wanted to go into architecture or drafting and so on and so on. Then you were dragged into carpentry and you thought, you know what, this is pretty cool. I can make something of myself here. And then actually having a plan, but being the person that executes on it, jumps into it, gives it a crack, gives it 110%, knows that you're potentially not going to see that overnight success. Yeah. But if you keep hitting it day in, day out, show up, give it 110%, you will get the result. And that's exactly what you've done. It's the same as people when we train, right? Well, training's probably the prime example of that. You don't get a six-pack and get jacked overnight, but you do over a longer period of time.
That's exactly right, yeah. And it's having the intelligence or the ability to have a bit of nuance about it and shift and move, right? So you got the destination.
That's right.
But it's like, okay, what route do I take? What pathway do I take? Let's have a go at this one. It's probably not. It's not right. It's not right. It doesn't feel right. It's not getting me there. Let's actually take stock, reassess. Let's try something different. Let's ask for help. Let's shift and move and adapt. And yeah, you don't want to be so stubborn and set in your ways and fixated on the end goal, but then going a roundabout way. There'll be a lot of lessons, but sometimes there is time to sort of take a breath and recalibrate a little bit.
Well, the goal stays the same, but the plan changes at times, and you have to adapt and pivot, especially in the construction industry. Like it's 100%.
Matt, I guess for a young guy or girl that's going, there's a lot of women that are getting into the trade now that are out there at the moment. They're just finishing off their apprenticeship and they're wanting to start a building company, especially in Victoria. What would be some tips for them? You had a really calculated way when it went to getting your license and going out and securing your own work. Yep. But if someone was to starting now in 2026, or to just start their building company or their carpentry company, what would be some tips and a bit of advice around that for them?
As you said, I've had some left of centre opportunities and things like that. So my route's been a bit unconventional, but when it all boils down to it, the bare basics are still there, right? So it's hard work, it's passion, it's pride in terms of what you're delivering to the client or whoever's paying the bills. Then as a result, there's that compounding effect, but then it's the client satisfaction, right? So then that morphs into word of mouth. And then at the end of the day, out where we are, like every man and his dog's a tradesman, right? So it's like, well, why is someone going to engage you over the next bloke or the next company or the next professional? It's like, well, because they may have gotten word of mouth, they may have seen your past project and it was a high caliber, it may have won an award, or they might look like how your site presents because it's clean. You might drive a clean company car rather than a beaten up panel van, you know what I mean? So it's winding it back to the bare basics of client satisfaction, because at the end of the day, they're the ones that you got to appease and they're the ones that you got to want to make sure that they're engaging you so then you can deliver what you want to deliver. That's the biggest thing. Yeah.
Let's fast forward a little bit more now to, let's say, 5 team members inside of your business. What started to change then when you started to make them first few hires? You mentioned that you've actually got your apprentices still on today, which is awesome. Shows that strong team culture. Yep. But what was that like, getting to your first 5 team members?
So that's the thing. I mean, starting off with your first couple of apprentices, you're working side by side with them on site, right? everyone has, inside a business, everyone has basically their break-even point in terms of money in versus money out. If you've only got a couple of guys working for you, chances are service-based businesses might be a little bit different in terms of the numbers, but the carpentry crew that I was running, 5 blokes swinging a hammer for me was the break-even point where that would replace my wage or my billable hours on site. So that was sort of in the first probably 3 years, that was what I was working towards. So then that would facilitate, or at least give me the option to be able to pull away, get off the tools, so I wasn't billing myself out, and the money that I was making off each bloke's head on site was equivalent to what I could have earned myself on site. So realistically, like the way I looked at it, a lot of people would probably go, oh, it's not worth it. But I had to employ 5 blokes basically to make the money off their heads to replace the money that I could make solo. And a lot of people will go, it's not worth the risk. But the way I looked at it is what that facilitated in terms of business growth and strategy.
Well, that was the route to get to where you needed to get to.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
And you had a plan. You know, it goes back to what you've been saying this entire podcast is that you had a plan. It might be different to everyone else's. Who cares? It's your plan, but you executed it. And that's the difference, actually execution. You go going, okay, what do I have to do in order to achieve this? Awesome. Now let's go and do it. And you actually did do it.
There's a lot of mates, even down the footy club, it's like they always say, they go, I don't have time to chase work. I find I'm doing quotes late at night, and then I realise, because I'm so tired because I've been on the tools all day, I'm making mistakes, I forget to invoice, I'm rushing things. They go, how do you do it? I'm like, yeah, probably because you're doing too much. You like the most important facet of any project is the quoting stage, right? And you're doing it when you're falling apart, you're ready for bed. You know what I mean? When you can't focus. So I'm like, you're setting yourself up to fail. So what you need to do is structure the business and have it work for you and have it set up so it facilitates what you're trying to achieve in terms of freeing yourself up to take a breath, remove yourself from the on-site operations. So it gives you more capacity to chase work,
100%,
quote it properly, actually cost engineer the projects, actually audit, work out where you've won and lost money on each job. So then the next job that you quote is more accurate, is sharper. And then you can start pursuing more opportunities. You can work in sales, you can do your social media, you can do your letterbox drop, like however you want to do it. If you're working on the tools 40, 50, 60 hours a week, holding your apprentices' hands.
Prioritizing one aspect. Yeah. You know, like we always talk about that you need to see your business as a bird's eye view. You know, we've got sales and marketing. Then we've got our team management, our client management, our goals personally and professionally. Yeah. And if we're only hyper-focusing on one thing, if that's been on the tools, well, no wonder nothing else is getting attention. No wonder nothing else is growing. You mentioned footy there, and I just want to clear it up for the Victorians and the New South Wales and the Queensland because we're into our rugby league.
The Aussie rules.
The Aussie rules. Are we playing AFL?
That's AFL. It was just
AFL.
local footy. Yeah. The old Elf and Panthers. Shout out to them. So just local. It was good. Like nothing serious, but it was an outlet. Like I was down there for the better part of 10 years, and it's just like the mateship that as you leave school, you sort of, everyone goes their own separate ways, but the footy clubs are great. Any sporting club, like you've got 60 blokes thrust together. You train twice a week. You're with each other all day Saturday, and there's 60 blokes, but there's 17-year-olds up until 35. So it's a broad range. Everyone's doing different career paths. Everyone's at different ages. Some people have families, some people don't. So it's a great environment. It's I don't have too much time to get down to the club anymore. Obviously, I've finished up playing 5 years ago now, but that was a good little outlet. And as you mentioned, like you've got with life and with business, and you need to try and find that balance. So it's all good and well, sort of working your ass off and putting in the hours in the early days, but you sort of need to try and find that balance.
What are you doing?
And swing the pendulum both ways. I mean,
100%.
You're never gonna be in the sweet spot. It's hard to find that. So you got to be prepared to swing it. You got to be prepared to do the overtime. You got to be prepared to go have lunch with mates or go for a surf or pick up your kids from kinder. Like, you know what I mean? It's just trying to make sure that you've you're striking that balance and setting up the business and having that structured so it can facilitate and giving you those options. For me, that's what it's all about.
You got to the Five Guys, Matt, and you had the goal in mind. It was to be a residential builder. Did you have your builder's license at this point, or was it just?
It was around about the same time.
Yeah.
So that was 2017. So 3 to 4 years after we, would have been 3 to 4 years after we first started. It's a pretty arduous process to get your builder's license. It's probably the better part of 12 months from go to woe in terms of lodging the application, sitting the test, sitting the interview, qualifying for the insurance, and then getting your actual your ticket in the mail and your license and ability to actually sign up a contract.
How did that feel when it finally come through?
It was a weight off the shoulders. Like I'm pretty hard on myself. Like it was a goal that I'd set. At the same time, it's something that I'm working on. I probably don't give myself time to enjoy the success or the checkpoints that we achieve. So don't get me wrong. It was looking back, mate, it was probably like more of a weight off the shoulders because it's like, all right, we've got there. Rather than going out and celebrating or going on a bender or anything like that. It wasn't like that. And I didn't buy myself a gold watch or anything, but it was like, okay, where do we go from here? It was like, now it's almost like I'm going back to my apprenticeship again. I've done my carpentry apprenticeship. I've established a carpentry company. I've established a team. Now I've got my builder's license. It's back to the start. Now I'm learning this whole other aspect of the industry, and it's serious contracts. It's serious dollar values.
What was
serious liability?
What was your homeowner's warranty then when you first got your?
It was just the token. So it was probably a little bit above. So it was about 3.5 mil in terms of capacity.
Yeah.
And down in Victoria, they're pretty stringent. They're pretty thorough in terms of going through your financials. Obviously the current climate, insolvencies and all that sort of thing. So although we did have a decent business history and sort of cash float and things like that, a young builder like at the time, so that would have been 2017, so I would have been 25. When I got my ticket, it's like, well, okay, he might have the business history, but he's still pretty young. You know what I mean? So it's in terms of maturity levels and things like that, they looked at it as if I was a bit of a risk. But and that's the thing, like at that age, it was pretty unheard of to be able to get your license. Because I remember when I sat down, so you lodge the application, you do the test, and then you sit down for an interview. And that's like the final round. And I won't say his name, but he's pretty well known. The assessor he's a tough cookie. He's a hard man. And it was a couple of weeks before my birthday, and he sat down. He goes, "Happy birthday." I'm like, "Oh, thanks." And he goes, "You're the youngest that's come through in 12 months."
Wow.
I'm like, "Oh." And he goes, "Yeah, that bloke failed." I'm like, "Oh."
Talking about
Thanks, mate.
setting the mood.
Yeah, right. So
I wanted to put you off your A game.
yeah, my blood pressure went straight up.
Deep swallow.
Nice. Is it hot in here? Or?
Yeah.
So that was that. So yeah, he grilled me. But that's the thing. It's like the other. It's like I backed myself in. I had confidence. I knew I earned my right to be there. Right. So I'd done the work. It was just a matter of showing him and proving him. And it wasn't like there was no arrogance there, but it's like, that's my portfolio. That's my business history. Ask me whatever you want to ask me. There's my test results of the test that I took 2 months ago.
Yeah.
Do I pass or do I not? So I did. He shook my hand at the end of it, and I walked out of there with a sigh of relief. So
That was the birthday present.
That was the
yeah,
present.
exactly. Yeah. So, but yeah. And then from there, as I said, that was 2018. And then it was just like, okay, here we go. You got to try and start sourcing. Then I could shift to capitalizing on the exposure that I had with clients through the TV shows, through the block, and start engaging them directly.
Nice.
Because before then, legally, I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
And I was just contracting to builders. So I had this whole opportunity and this target audience, and
touch.
I was getting phone calls, and I couldn't capitalize on it because I couldn't sign a contract.
Yeah. Mate, you've built yourself a pretty good brand now. You know, a lot of people see the work that you've done.
Yeah.
You know, some
amazing brand.
Yeah, heritage style renovations, some ultra modern renovations as well. How important has that been over the last 5 years with doing the content, getting it out there, showing who you are, what you do, demonstrating that you are a professional inside your field and you are a reputable builder? How much has that played a part in gaining new works?
It's massive. I mean, it's all good and well to show your portfolio, right? But you've got to be executing it first, right? So you have to have the opportunities. It's all encompassing. You have to have the opportunity. You have to be able to capture that opportunity. You have to deliver the project to a high standard. Then you have to be able to market the project to then use that to fuel the pipeline and the word of mouth and the reputation and the brand. So, I mean, if we're going right back, sort of with the social media thing, it's funny. So Instagram, right? It's obviously it's
evolved.
It's evolved a lot. But I actually, funnily enough, when I was at uni doing industrial design, when the app first started, that's when I first jumped on it because we actually studied the app in the course. So I was on it in 2009 personally.
Crazy.
Then it was sort of Facebook was the main one. And then when I got the opportunity on the block, that was when I decided, okay, well, I've got to try and leverage this. I'm getting this content through the TV show and all that sort of stuff. I need somewhere to post it. So I started Instagram and a Facebook page for the business in 2015.
Nice.
So that's 11 years ago. And at the time, off the back of the block, like I was doing all our own content. Like I was setting up a GoPro and doing time lapse of us framing or putting trusses up. And everyone's like, you're a wanker. And that. So I was sort of doing it early days. So that whole, like, if we're talking about the commitment and sort of the snowball effect,
the consistency of doing the content,
exactly right. Like I've been on the app since 2009. The business has been on it since 2015. I've been doing content regularly since then. I was doing my own content with cameras, but then the more professional that the business has gone and the nicer projects that we've been doing, like we've got a media company that we've got a monthly retainer. We've had them since 2019. So that's over 7 years now. So that's the thing. It's not, as we said before, it's not really an overnight success. It's committing to it and basically just post after post after post and project.
That's the difference
project.
Because a lot of people, they engage a marketing agency and they think that it's going to be an overnight success. They're going to get all these leads come through, but it's actually years of the organic content that actually converts the paid content when you actually spend money on it. And that's the difference. What tips or tricks could you give to a building company out there or any trade company when it comes to marketing, where to start, what to focus on? Should they do paid advertisement? Should they not?
I'm no expert in SEO and the paid marketing and all those sort of things. To be honest, we don't, fortunate position, like we've had a fair bit of exposure, so the brand sort of does the heavy lifting for us. Where my focus is, and all I can say sort of from my perspective is that telling your story, showing how passionate you are, and if you're truly proud of the quality work that you're producing and the projects that you're delivering and the client relationships that you're building, capture that, and that will do a lot of the heavy lifting for you, right? So people, I don't know, like we've won awards and things like that, but it's like, well, that's not, people don't want to hear you or see you sort of standing on your soapbox and bragging about how good you are. People want to see it. People want to see what you're producing and hear about others' opinions of you and hear about others' experience in dealings with you, because you're dealing with people's homes. So not only is it the emotional aspect, but it's the biggest financial investment that they're going to make. And you've got this random tradesman coming in, ripping it apart and piecing it back together and charging you $1 million. You got to be able to trust them. And you only earn that trust through either time, word of mouth, or showing your track record and building that relationship online first, so then they can engage you when they're ready.
You had a really good point there, trust. And, building that through your social media platform. A lot of people don't do that. They do the opposite to it. And especially now that everyone's trying to compete with each other in the industry, it's like people go too left of field when it comes to the jokester style of content. Like, someone doesn't want a jokester inside of their house. It might look great for your friends and family,
agree, yeah.
but they don't want that. They want a professional that delivers on a quality build.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the value that we can create. Let's talk about the onboarding process and what it looks like inside of our business.
You're not pitching to other tradesmen. You're actually got to keep your ideal clientele at the forefront of your mind when you're doing content. Because that's the difference. Who are you speaking to? Who's paying the bills? How would you speak to that client? Would you joke with them?
Yeah.
Or are you trying to,
Also, too, you know, I'm loving this conversation at the moment because you mentioned, you know, initially at the start with building that trust and building that relationship and building that credibility, but also staying true to it and having a plan. Like, I know that through this conversation, you're very calculated in your approach. Okay, no, I'm going to back myself. It's going to work. This is the plan. I've thought it through a fair few times. Let's execute. Let's put our head down now and go for it. And I think in the world that we live in today, and I feel like every year it just compiles, is that people are in such a rush to be successful or in such a rush to create this successful business that they get frustrated when it doesn't work out straight away.
Yeah.
They get frustrated when they don't get the lead through the door. They get frustrated when they know they've done content for 6 months and it hasn't popped off. Like, bad luck.
Success is 5% of it. 95% of it is just showing up every day and eating shit and doing it regardless.
Execution. Like, there's people, you know, we go back to when we started our building companies. It actually wasn't a push. It was like, I was saying it before, it was like you're a rocket scientist and you had a business like far out. You're 21, you got a business. Like, what's going on?
Yeah.
So when now it's like, oh, you don't have 37 businesses. Oh, you're behind.
But that's the thing. Like, why is it a race?
Yeah,
You
it's
know
not.
what I mean?
It's
It's
not.
like, because, okay, well, I've been operating for 12 years now, and like in the early days, I went like buggery and put in the hours and probably worked double the amount that I should have. But I wasn't doing it to outpace other people. I was just doing it because I was obsessed and passionate, right? These people that have got in their minds that, okay, I need to hit this revenue figure by this age or after this year, and if it doesn't happen, oh, it's not working, let's sack everyone and let's shift and let's throw the towel in. It's like, it goes back to what I was saying, staying committed to the cause long after the mood that you set it in has left.
100%.
It's like,
That's right.
Just because, like, when will the dividends pay off? You don't know. But if you consistently stick to it, you can't lose. You know what I mean? It will work.
Your business is a vehicle, you know, to live the life that you want to live. And that's what people forget about. Like, stuff the toys, stuff all this stuff. Like, what makes you happy? You know, is it footy? Is it hanging out with the boys and kicking a ball around on the weekends? Is it surfing? Is it? If it is, fantastic. Do more of that. Doesn't mean that you have to keep pushing down this field where you're so inundated with work and you're trapped on the tools consistently that you forget about it all. Like, what about the family? What about traveling away? What about the European holidays that you said that you love to do? So see how we get so trapped in it, and I've been guilty of this massively, is get so trapped in the disease of more, chasing the next thing. I'll be happy when I get to here, but then you get to there and you're not.
It lasts for
Not
5
the
seconds.
Fireworks and trophies. You're like, I made it. You were saying it with your builder's license. You're like, oh, sweet, got that. Epic. It's like fun for a second and then you're back into it. So building that business with a purpose, you know, what is your why? I love to ask people, what is your why, you know? And it's because a lot of people can't answer it. And
I think a lot of people haven't really put too much thought into it because it scares them. It's like
100%.
so they just avoid it. So it's like, what's the easy thing? Oh, okay, let's chase revenue. It's like, okay, revenue. What's your actual gross profit? You know
when things get tough, what's actually going to push you?
Nah, why are you asking that?
You can be doing $20 million turnover. It means peanuts if you're making $1 million profit.
Revenue doesn't pay the bills and might get you from week to week.
And
But
then you've created this trap, you know what I mean? So, and I mean, that's the thing. That's what I've learned over the years. It's and I'm still learning it. Like, the past 3 to 6 months, it's sort of been a shift. It's like, okay, well, I've created this, what I would class as relatively successful business, and we are starting to see the fruits of the labour now. It's like, well, I've got a few choices. I can continue to do 60 hours a week, or I can set up the business and systems and processes where I can reduce those hours to maybe 30 or 40, and I can nick off and go to Matilda swimming lessons. I can nick off and do the kinder pickup. It's like, it's not that I'm slacking off, but it's like, I've worked my ring out for 12 years. It's like, if I don't have the option to do that, what's it all for? You know what I mean? It's like, and the obsession with progression is all good and well, but where do you stop?
That's right.
Where's the contentment come from? You'll be 50 and you've missed out on your kids growing up.
Mm.
No.
Mate, you've got 10 to 12 blokes now, and then you got a pool of subbies that you regularly use. That's correct?
Yeah. So at the moment, it's sitting 8 to 9 at the moment. But yeah, big pool of subbies, and we've got sort of deliberately, I've sort of kept it tighter just with these big contracts. They're sort of, we're at the mercy of permits and all those sort of things. So I've sort of learned over the years, having a large, substantial team, I'm just trying to get a little bit smarter in terms of sort of obviously the weekly overheads and all that sort of thing. So we've established really good relationships with a couple of carpentry crews. So they come in and we actually allocate them a project rather than having an additional 4 or 5 guys on the books. We just give them the carpentry package. And I learned that because that's what I was doing for builders 8 years ago. So I've learned the ins and outs, and I've learned how that is mutually beneficial. And coincidentally, like the mobs that we're using to take care of those carpentry packages, they're trying to get their builder's license. So it's like a full
100%.
circle moment. It's quite good. And we go back to fulfillment now. It's like, that's what's exciting me. Like, I've sort of reached a point in the business where I'm pretty sort of content with sort of the revenue and the numbers that we're pulling in and the team that we've got. What is fulfilling now is, as I said before, like I've still got my first 2 apprentices. Louis was my first apprentice. He just got his builder's license.
That's
and now he's starting to put his own subby on.
Awesome.
He's still working for us, still running jobs, but now he's got his own employee.
And
it's like,
feeling.
Like that is like, again,
full circle
moment. And it's like, that's the fulfillment. Like I've reached the financial goal, so to speak. Like it's nothing to blow anyone out of the water, but it's comfy. It's putting a roof over our heads. It's keeping the lights on. The family's happy and healthy, and it's like, okay, let's protect this. And then our employees, what do they want? My other apprentice, he's just bought his own house. He's taken a few months off to renovate that. And then we're helping him. We're sort of treating that as our project, and we're helping him manage it to make sure that his budget goes as far as it can. And it's like all these guys that have contributed to the business over the years, now they're starting to reap the rewards, and I'm in a position where I can and I want to help them.
Yeah.
So it's like there's a fair bit of beauty in that, you know?
That's such a good takeaway too for everyone listening right now, is the leadership trait there. You know, you had a goal, you had a purpose to build this company, and then the people that actually stayed loyal to you, and the people that saw it through, now they're reaping the benefits of it, and that's your purpose.
Yeah.
You know, I think a lot of people forget about that too, because there is, you know, people that aren't the best tradesmen in the world as well, and you actually do have to go through quite a substantial amount of people in order to find these perfect people. But it all comes back down to you. You know, who you are as a leader, because your team's just a direct reflection. So if you're, same thing, joking around with the boys too much, if you're being way too professional, if you're not validating them, so on and so on.
Yeah.
Well, how do you expect to have the perfect team?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Well, you need to get your time back by having the right team members, so then you can focus on the systems and the growth to keep pushing it forward, right? Because if you're building this business, it's not only opportunity for yourself, but it's also opportunity for everyone that's on your team. So unless you have the time to do that, you'll always be stuck at a certain level. And clearly that's something that you've done. You've built your team members up, which has allowed you to then focus on, you know, bringing more quality builds into the business, picking and choosing the clients that you want to work for, knowing that you have quality team members there that are going to run the business while you run the ball up and bring in the work. Talk to us about that and how important that has been.
100%, and it all goes hand in hand, right? So I've actually said to the boys, I'm like, early days, they're always like, Melbourne weather, it's pretty average, and there's been over the years, there's been a few side comments where it's been drizzling with rain. I'm like, are you boys right to push through and just get it done? They're like, oh yeah, it's easy for you to say from the office. And there's no animosity there, but it's
you're at all the local coffee shops down in Melbourne.
But I turned around and I said, you need me to spend time in the office and get these quotes right, because I said if I undercook them, or if I'm not chasing the good jobs, that pressure and that financial strain is going to blow back on you guys, and you're not going to be happy on site. You know what I mean? If I'm undercooking the quote, or if I'm not putting in the hours in the office, if you guys on site aren't facilitating me to do my job in the business, then naturally the business is going to be in a precarious position where we're not winning the good jobs, or we're undercooking the quotes, and then as a result, we're trying to execute this job where I haven't allowed as much, and then I'm going to be putting pressure on the carpenters, and then it's like no one's happy.
Yeah.
I'm losing money, and they're getting yelled at. It's not a good environment.
100%.
Really good point that you made just then without making it, and this is for all of the listeners listening right now, is that you didn't shy away from hard conversations, and this is where people make mistakes when building a team. Communication is key.
Yeah.
But you didn't shy away from a hard conversation. You lent into it, but you gave them the understanding and the clarity why.
Yeah.
And then once you do all of them three, well, no wonder you're building a team. No wonder they're like, oh, hang on, Matt actually isn't down at Chapel Street having a coffee. He's actually at work. He's winning more jobs, and he's actually doing it to better us. Because at the end of the day, same thing goes back to job roles and responsibilities. Why do we need the clarity?
Yeah.
Because everyone needs clarity on what their position is inside of the business and how we all execute.
Yeah.
So now they have full confidence in Matt. He's going back to quote another 5 jobs and bring in some more work. Oh, it makes sense now.
Yeah.
But naturally, our team members can think that maybe, we're down at Chapel Street having a soy latte.
And that's the thing. I mean, everyone's got the blinders on sometimes, but as you said, it's open communication and it's the mutual respect within the team. Like, I don't like saying it, but you can't shy away from it. There is a hierarchy in terms of experience and job roles, right? So it's like, for me, not sitting at the top literally, but
You've taken the risk, though.
Yeah. And then there's the apprentices down the bottom. It's like the apprentices, I mean, your first 6-12 months, you're essentially a trade assistant. So it's like they have to know their role, and they have to be the helping hand and play the role. It's like a footy team or rugby or AFL or however you want to put it. It's like you've all got your role to play. Play the role. Otherwise, your spot in the team might not be there next week.
That's right.
It's having the awareness as to what your role is and making sure that you deliver. That's the biggest thing.
Matt, let's talk about company values that your team members follow, or what are your company values, and why is it so important inside of your business?
We could probably do a little bit more in sort of expressing them in terms of the team meetings, but it's probably a good and a bad thing, really. Like, they're underlying, right? So they don't really, they're almost innate, because as I said, like Louis and Josh, they were our first 2 apprentices. They're still with us 12 years on. Over the years, they've taught and brought up each apprentice under them, right? So it's this full circle moment where the ethics, the work, the morals, the work rate, the pride, the quality of finish that I outlined in terms of what my non-negotiables were, they took them on board. That became theirs. And then as a result, as we sort of started bringing the juniors up, they absorbed that. That's the non-negotiables. And it's pretty uniform across the board, right? Like, we've got 8 guys. In terms of those key pillars, in terms of ethics and morals and all that sort of thing, it's pretty well uniform. There's no sort of outliers, or there's no one going rogue and doing their own thing and putting their own priorities ahead of the businesses. So once there's a newcomer or there's a junior coming on board and he looks around and everyone's sort of sticking to the same ethics and morals, they're like, oh, well, this is just how it is.
Yeah.
The team culture's built, the environment's built.
Yeah.
So if anyone comes in and they don't align with it, well, they're not going to last, or they're going to have to fit in.
If there's a couple of guys that are going rogue and knocking off early or rocking up late, it's like, well, the wheels start falling off pretty quick, but it doesn't happen, and it hasn't even been a concern of mine. Like, I speak to other business owners and they go, fuck yeah, he didn't come in today. I didn't even hear from him. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
It's like,
It baffles you, right?
Yeah. Well, because you have such a tight-knit team and you've built that transparency and that honesty in the team, where it's like, man, look, if you need the day off, just come to me. Let's have a chat. Let's discuss it. But they feel comfortable, and that's the difference. See, where a lot of people get it wrong is that because so many people just point the finger and tell their team what to do, right? Be the old school boss instead of the leader. Well, people don't. They're actually afraid to come to them. They're actually afraid to have that hard and honest conversation, you know, and it's the same thing, like actually understanding how your team communicates. You know, how do they communicate? Are they a bit more steady? Are they, pretty direct? So on and so on.
And it goes back to what we were talking about before, the whole premise of, for me and where our business is, the whole premise of what we're trying to facilitate now is those who are involved in the business who have contributed. It's very much a two-way street. So if you've bought in, if you've pitched in, and if you've contributed, then you've earned your right, you've earned your stripes to get some value back out of the business. Whereas if you're not pitching in and if you're not aligned, then it's the relationship isn't working. So therefore, you're not going to extract that value. I'm not going to help you get your builder's license because I've been dragging you through the whole time. You know what I mean? And where there's not that mutual respect there. Whereas if you buy in, you commit, you help us along the way, I'll move heaven and earth for you because there is that mutual respect and there's that value, and it's a two-way street.
Absolutely. Mate, you've got a beautiful family, couple of kids.
Yeah.
2 girls, is it?
A
boy and a girl.
Boy and a girl, yeah. Matilda, who's 4, and William, who's 2.
Yeah, and your wife, is it?
Yeah, correct. Courtney, yeah.
How much of a part have they had to play in all the success and support over the years?
A massive part. Like Courtney, so she's a forensic psych nurse.
Wow.
That was her career path out of school. So she's obviously in that industry, and she sort of something hit home for me when she said, "I can't work you out." And I'm like, "Oh shit!" Well, that's I don't know whether that's a good or a bad thing, but that's the thing. She deals with some interesting characters, and yeah, when your wife's saying that she can't work you out and she's dealing with some of the worst,
she does it for a living. She's met a match.
Yeah, so no, but she's great. Like she's been a massive support for me, and we've been together. How long? You put me on the spot now. We've been together 17 years now. We've been married for 7. And that's the thing. It's been a roller coaster ride. Like we've had the ups and downs, but we've sort of strapped in together, and that's the whole thing about life and business. It's never rainbows and lollipops, is it? It's there are the ups and the downs, and the past 3 months we've been through a bit of a rough patch. We lost our son, baby James. Unfortunately, he was stillborn on Christmas Eve. So that's it's pretty raw for us and something that we're working through. But it's that happening is sort of triggered. It's turned our priorities upside down in terms of, unfortunately, the world doesn't stop, right? And us as a family have built this business over the past 12 years, and it's gotten to the point where you get a bit complacent and stuck in your ways. When things get turned upside down, it forces you to reassess, and sort of that's where we're at now. We're trying to work through, okay, how do we move forward? It's our story, and how do we use what we've built to facilitate life and give us options into the future to sort of cherish what we do have, and give us the fulfillment and give us the contentment that we need. Everyone needs to pay the bills and keep the lights on, but it's more of a quality time and hours out of the day, and it's something that I'm still working through. It's somewhat unfortunate that you don't stop and smell the roses until you're sort of forced to, or it's like a kick in the teeth and a bit of a shake up, but yeah, we're on a journey, and it's still pretty raw. But as I said, the world doesn't stop, and I'm just conscious like the business is. A lot of people are relying on it, which is sort of a pretty heavy weight. Like we've got 8 staff, and we've got all these client and life jobs and contracts, and yeah, when you go through family tragedy like that, it's it makes you take stock a little bit. So. That's the whole thing, and that's life. It's like we've all got commitments, but yeah, you've sort of got to safeguard yourself to set up the framework where you're not bearing all the weight and all the pressure, because things do happen, unfortunately. So yeah, and that's probably even more motivation for business owners to set up those systems and processes
100%.
so people can help and step in and delegate a bit more.
There becomes a point when the business becomes bigger than just you.
Yeah.
And that's when you realize it's so important to have the right systems in place, the right team members in place, and the right team culture in place in order for that business to be self-efficient rather than everything being purely relying on you.
Yeah. Yep. And the difficulty is, it's like, I believe every business owner is a bit of a control freak in a way, right? So it's like it's the business is their pride and joy. They've built it up by doing things their way and by setting up the systems and processes. So if you don't have capacity or you don't give your chance the opportunity to pull back and, as you mentioned, have a look at the business from afar or zoom out or a bird's eye view, it's like you just get stuck in the trenches. And then when you're crook or you get hit by a bus or there's a death in the family, it's like you're stuck in a swamp, and it's just like it's a precarious position to be in. So that would be my advice, and it's unfortunate that we've had to learn the hard way, but yeah, they're the lessons that you take out of it, and that's something that we're trying to set up at the moment and try and work through. Yeah,
I think it's the realization moment. You know, you were forced into that realization moment where a lot of people aren't. I think we're so, I guess, goal orientated as carpenters, builders, tradesmen. It's like, here's a set of plans. That's our plan. That's our goal. You know, what do we have to do in order to achieve it? And I think like it's the same with business, right? Like I know I was definitely guilty of this, is that you're so focused on completing it that nothing will stop you. So if you have to put in them extra hours, if you have to work overtime, if you have to, you know, not celebrate your birthday. Mate, I never celebrated a birthday because I was like, well, who cares? I need to get back into the business and focus on it. Is that all these things slow? You don't get them back.
No.
Like they don't come back. You know, like it's the reason why I love my hobbies and doing the things that I love is because I understand what I'm doing it for.
Yeah, that's
you know,
right.
It is the time with your partner. It is the time with your family. It is the time, you know, laughing with your mates on the boat or whatever it may be. But figure out that purpose and figure out that why, because, you know, like what you said and like what we just mentioned then, you cannot get your time back.
No.
It doesn't come back. So like, why are you doing it for? And there's always someone with a bigger boat, you know, like it's,
Yeah, that's right.
there's going to be someone richer than you. If you keep chasing this destination, it'll never come.
Yeah.
Well, the whole reason you do it is to set yourself up, right? Everyone wants time and financial freedom, but then you spend all this time building this business and some people forget why they actually started. And it was to create the freedom and the money.
Yeah.
But at what stage do you stop? And I think we're all guilty of this and chasing that next thing, I guess, is the fulfillment of becoming better than you were the day before. And I know that's part of my why is being better than I was last week. But at the same time, it can't be the detriment of doing the things that you created the business for, whether that's hobbies, whether that's family time. You know, your parents are getting older, spending the time with them. You know, they brought you up. You know, I had awesome parents, didn't come from a great deal, but have the best parents ever. And now it's like making sure I spend the time to do those things and not just caught up, you know, in the business every day, even though we love it, right?
Like you're sacrificing those things. Like I miss sort of mates' engagements and birthdays because I was working on the block and stuff like that. It's like you sacrifice things so you can work hard to give yourself those things in the future. Sometimes the equation doesn't really stack up, you know what I mean? Like missing out on those monumental birthdays and engagements and stuff like that. It's like at the time, I regret it now looking back because it's like I told myself I was working, right? And working hard to create options for the future, but it's like I could have had those quality times then and I chose to work to give me time now. And it's like, well, yeah, it's making sure that the equation checks out.
It's always a price.
Yeah.
You know what too is I love the one when people say, you know, oh, you must be so lucky that you've got that beautiful house or that car or them holidays. And we just explained it then.
Yeah.
There's sacrifices that you make in order to become successful or successful in anything.
Yeah. And I mean, the biggest thing is having the self-awareness as to, as you mentioned, the obsession with progression is great, but it's got to be a fuel and a vessel to get to you to where you want to be, and having the self-awareness as to where to draw the line and know where you've gotten to where you wanted to be. Because it's like you've already achieved things that you said.
100%.
Like the new car, how long is it the new car until it's not the new car?
Until it sits in the shed.
The new car.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like
you've
already achieved things you said would make you happy is something that sticks in my head, and that often gets forgotten.
Yeah.
Get back to what makes you happy in the first place, you know, like even when you were a kid, there was nothing else to worry about, grabbing a shovel and go down and building some jumps with your mates at the park or grabbing the surfboard and going for a surf. Like you didn't actually care.
Yeah.
So time went slower. You actually enjoyed the process. I think, you know, the older and older that we get and the more things that we achieve and go through, it's like time starts to go really, really quickly.
Yeah.
And it's like, where did that go?
But I think time goes quick because you're probably not as present. And
100%.
I'm guilty of it. It's like you're rushing around. It's like I knock off at the end of the day and I'm like, fuck, today flew. It's like this morning felt like 4 a.m. this morning when I left the house felt like an hour ago. It's like, but it's scary because it's like I'm not actually taking it all in. I'm just like, I'm wired and I'm go, go, go.
100%.
But it's like, as you said, it's going back to the bare basics of sort of why you started doing what you're doing. And that's where we're at with the business. We've actually sort of, the past couple of years, we've sort of got ourselves to a better financial position where we've started doing our own developments. So it's like the client work's great, but I'm always answering to someone. And now we're in a position where I am the builder, I am the owner, and it's my project. So I'm in full control in terms of creative freedom, in terms of budgets, in terms of sort of shape, form, and all those sort of things. And that's lit a bit of a fire in my belly and sort of reignited the passion in that regard, because it's just like it comes full circle and you go back to why you started. You've sort of been able to get yourself in a position where you can eliminate those little bugs and those niggles that maybe don't let you enjoy the process as much. Whereas if you can take full control of it, it's yeah. So
100%. Matt, mate, thank you so much for today.
Thank you, gentlemen.
It was such a great conversation, great chat. But to leave the listeners with a couple of tips and tricks, mate, what would they be in your period of time from, starting off with that young guy working at, Blockbuster or Video Easy all the way through to now running a very successful business, been on the block 2 times, winning the Master Builders Awards. What would you say to your younger self if you were to start again?
What would me
Personally.
chatting to my younger self? Go easy on yourself. Work hard, say yes, but just go easy on yourself. As we said before, it's not a race, so it's just enjoy the ride. If you say yes, opportunities will open up, but just taking stock and zooming out once in a while. Yeah.
Great tips.
Love it. Thanks
That's
for being raw and real. And I think that
gentlemen.
there's a lot of
Bit of a
great
deep one.
takeaways from today.
Yeah.
It was a really good chat. And I think one of the biggest things that a lot of people can take away from today's podcast is that it is real. It is raw. It's life, and we've got these plans and shit that deters us from the plans and we go off track multiple fucking times.
Yeah.
But that is business. That is life.
Yep.
One recap is that have a plan, be fucking clear on that plan and execute every single day, but don't enjoy loving and enjoying the process along the way. Understand what's real and absolutely go for it.
100%.
Let's go get some lunch, eh?
Done.
Thanks, boys.